Last week, bloody clashes erupted in the Suwayda governorate in southern Syria. A conflict broke out between local Druze and Bedouin communities, and later, regime leader Jilani sent troops to support the latter. The two sides fought fiercely to the death, which also triggered deep involvement by the Israeli military. On the 15th, the Israeli Air Force bombed a Syrian regime tank convoy heading to the city of Suwayda to support Druze militias. According to statistics from the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights on the 19th, the conflict has resulted in over 700 deaths. The U.S. Barron's reported that dozens of bodies have piled up in hospitals in Suwayda, with no one to claim them. The reason for the delay in handling these bodies is likely that the relatives of these victims were also killed in the massacres sweeping the city. A local forensic doctor stated that they have handed over 361 bodies to their families, but there are still 97 unidentified bodies. Not only in the south, but also areas near the presidential palace and the Ministry of Defense in Syria's capital Damascus have been hit by bombs. Regarding the situation in Syria, discussions within the White House have become increasingly intense. According to a report by U.S. X News Network, some White House officials believe that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has lost control. One of the officials described him as acting like a madman, saying he always bombs everything at the drop of a hat, which may undermine what Trump is trying to accomplish. Another official noted that trust in Netanyahu within the Trump administration is declining, with the view that his actions are too radical. Netanyahu sometimes acts like a completely unruly child, they said. These U.S. officials told the media that although the U.S. mediated a ceasefire agreement that cooled the situation in Syria on the 18th, as of local time on the 20th, the White House's concerns about Netanyahu and his regional policies continued to grow. The reason is obvious. In the Suwayda conflict this time, a large number of both Druze and Bedouin people have been killed. However, the core contradictions have not been resolved. Due to the indiscriminate massacres, the hatred between the two sides has only deepened, which may still become a trigger in the future. Israel may intervene again next time, and it may not even agree to a ceasefire as quickly as it did this time. Trump has yet to publicly criticize Netanyahu, and it is unclear whether he shares the anger of his advisors. It is widely believed within the White House that Netanyahu bombed Syria due to domestic pressure from Israel's Druze minority and other political considerations. U.S. officials have warned that Netanyahu's good fortune in Trump's favor may be exhausted, and this should not be regarded as an alarmist statement. After the fall of Bashar al-Assad's government, Trump hoped that Syria's new regime would stabilize the country and move closer to the United States, which would benefit his administration both in terms of face and morality. The Trump administration hoped to lift sanctions to attract U.S. energy companies and international capital to enter Syria and participate in the development of energy infrastructure and other fields. To avoid offending Israel, Jilani has stated that he is willing to no longer consider reclaiming the Golan Heights. But Netanyahu still took such heavy-handed actions against Syria, which will obviously delay Trump's efforts to do business. Naturally, he is very unhappy about this. In particular, at a time when the Trump administration is already frustrated with issues such as the tariff war and domestic political dynamics related to Russia and Ukraine, Trump still finds it difficult to take a hardline stance against Netanyahu. After all, Israel remains a pivotal outpost for the United States and the West in the Middle East, a positioning that cannot and will not change. Pro-Israel forces in the U.S. are powerful, and cutting off aid could trigger a backlash within the Republican Party. Even if Trump has grievances with Netanyahu, he is unlikely to terminate U.S. military aid to Israel. Instead, he will more likely exert pressure on Netanyahu privately. This, by nature, limits the effectiveness of such pressure. Only if Trump can help Netanyahu achieve a smooth exit, ensuring he faces no accountability even if the fighting stops, might the hostilities subside. However, if Netanyahu refuses to rein in his actions and Syria remains in long-term turmoil, the U.S. will struggle to fulfill its promises of stability and prosperity, which would undermine its credibility in the Middle East. This could trigger an adverse chain reaction among Gulf allies. At a time when Netanyahu needs to ease his own political pressure, he will likely continue to use the excuse of protecting the Druze people. While the aftershocks in the south have yet to subside, Turkey, another neighboring country eyeing the region, recently dispatched warplanes to carry out airstrikes on positions of the Syrian Democratic Forces in northern Aleppo, Syria. Like Netanyahu, Recep Tayyip Erdogan harbors a strong obsession with regional hegemony. As these two powerful neighbors gradually expand their influence, it may only be a matter of time before direct conflicts or proxy wars break out between them in Syria.